The Rich and Mike Show, Flagler County's hometown sports show. Here are your hosts, Rich Carroll and Mike Licio.
Yes, it's another episode of the Rich and Mike Sports Show. Good Saturday morning, Flagler County. And a good Saturday morning to you, Mike Licio.
Hello, Flagler County. Rich, we finally had history on Thursday night.
Yeah, we sure did. What a night it was at the Ship. We were looking forward to this. The big playoff, the regional quarterfinal with your Matanzas Pirates, and they were playing the Ponte Vedra Sharks. And it was a wild game because you went into it knowing that the Pirates are right in the middle of this incredible season. They're 21-1. They just won a district championship over the Ponte Vedra Sharks, defeated them 12-1. And you think you're going to the Ship, and again, thanks to all the sponsors that made it possible and our anonymous donor who handled the FHSAA fee, which we've been told, by the way, that every game Matanzas plays in the playoffs, that fee will be handled. So we'll bring it to you on the WNZF Sports Network. The home games, at least anyway. We'll see how far they have to go on the road if that does happen. But we're excited about that. So we'll definitely be there Tuesday for Middleburg on the YouTube channel. But before we get to that, on the Flagler Radio YouTube channel, please subscribe. But before we get to that, Thursday night, so they win the district championship. 12-1 is the final score over the Ponte Vedra Sharks. You go into that game Thursday night thinking you know what you're going to see. And as sports often does, it completely surprises us, and you get a completely different game. The result was the same, but, Mike, the game maybe wasn't exactly what we expected.
The week before, in Thursday's district championship, Matanzas defeated Ponte Vedra 12-1. And it was funny because Sunday night I was talking to Coach Forrest, and, of course, Coach Matt Forrest, the head football coach at Matanzas. His wife is an assistant on the softball team, and he, of course, is the brilliant PA voice of the Matanzas softball Pirates. But we were talking about it, and I said, what do you think about Thursday? He said, well, it's always tough to play a team a second time. And I said, well, in a football standpoint, you'd rather play a team you beat 35-0 than a team you beat 17-14. He said, well, that's very true. But you know what? Ponte Vedra came in ready to play. They fielded the ball cleanly, which that was an issue they had during the season. They pitched well, which was the difference in that game. They didn't make a lot of mistakes in the field. At the plate, it was a little bit of a different story. It was actually funny because they played so much better. Their pitching was so much better. Taylor Scribner pitched a game for the ages. It's a tough game to lose a 1-0 game like that when she battled and kept her team in the game. Defensively, they played well. In the first game, they scored 1 run on 3 hits. That would have been enough to at least keep things going in this game, but they had no answer for Leah Stevens. It looked like very early on she had them figured out.
Yeah, Leah Stevens, just the 17 strikeouts, the no-hitter in a playoff game, a performance that we'll be talking about here on the Rich and Mike Sports Show in Flagler County. People are going to be talking about that performance for a long time. It was the first playoff broadcast victory for us. Mike's been doing it longer than me, but I've still been doing it for about a decade here. So incredible to think about, Mike, because we have had quite a few playoff games pop up that we've broadcasted with football and a couple of other sports here the last couple of years. But this was the first one we had the pleasure of broadcasting, a playoff victory by a Flagler County team. And, it's really great that it was this team because they are having a special season and they have special players. So to be able to broadcast that victory, the second playoff victory in the history of the program there, it was a historic night in Flagler County. And then on top of that, it's a 1-0 pitcher's duel. And yes, the pitcher, we had 2 22s on the mound. Of course, Leah Stevens for the Pirates, and then number 22, Scribner for Ponte Vedra. She was incredible. Now, she wasn't as dominant as Leah Stevens was. The Pirates did have base runners. They were able to load the bases at one point. They had second and third and 1 out. It seemed every time the Pirates mounted a threat, Scribner closed the door. She shut it closed with incredible pitching, painting. She just upped her game when the Pirates threatened to score, and that's why you had a 1-0 game into the 7th inning. And, with Leah Stevens up there, she unfortunately for Scribner and Pontevedra, she had to be perfect. And she was as close as you possibly could be. But the problem was, as good as she was, Leah Stevens was better.
To tell you how good she was, Matanzas stranded 9 runners on base, and then they had 3 more thrown out on the base path. So that's 12 base runners that Scribner had to deal with that she was able to keep from crossing the plate, both her and her team, again, going back to the defensive play. But 1 run, and Ava Henning with her RBI double to score Juliet Vogel. When you have a pitcher like Leah Stevens, 1 run could be enough, and this time it was, and it was just a great outing. And I think Matanzas knows they have some things to clean up. I talked to Coach Manhart after the game, and she definitely agreed. She definitely reiterated to me that she feels like there's some things they can do better and have to do better as the schedule gets tougher, as the teams get better. But they answered the bell, Pontevedra, and I think that's a good place for Matanzas to start. You don't want your team to get complacent. I'm not saying Matanzas would have gotten complacent, but in a 1-0 game, they right off the jump, they experienced playoff pressure. They experienced what the postseason is supposed to be about, being in a tight game where every at-bat and every pitch and every play in the field is magnified. So I think it was a great way for Matanzas to start out, and I think it's going to serve them well as we continue through the playoffs.
I think that's a great point because you kind of see it here, and we're going to talk a little bit NBA later in the show and the run that the Knicks are on, up 2-0 on the Celtics with a big game this afternoon. But similar in the sense that maybe it benefited the Knicks to play a team like the Pistons who played a really rough brand of basketball, physical brand of basketball, and kind of was a great introduction to the Knicks into playoff basketball as opposed to a regular season basketball, and it helped them get ready for this series against Boston, where Boston's first round series didn't seem to get them ready at all. So here, maybe it was great for the Matanzas Pirates to have a really tough game 1 in the playoffs, not have an easy victory because then you're coasting into the next round. Here you see the reality of how thin the margin can be between winning and losing, and how sometimes you may go into a game expecting one thing and the complete opposite story unfolds in that game. So I think it was great for them to experience that, and it should get them ready for the upcoming second round on Tuesday against Middleburg. You got to mention Ava Hennig, right? She was the one that just came up with the huge hit, that booming double to straightaway center field. The Pirates were struggling to get that big hit all night. You mentioned if you throw in the caught stealings, they left 12 runners on. Those are 12 runs out there that scored in the previous game in the district championship.
Yep, that's a good point.
That didn't get in this game. So you got to give Ava huge credit for coming up with the one big hit. We were talking before the game, when you have Leah Stevens on the mound, sometimes it'll only take one. And thanks to the clutch hitting from Hennig in that situation with runners on, she was able to get in the one run they needed. She was the offense that night. So she played a big role in the victory. And
the one thing that you can take away from that, Matanzas stranding a lot of runners, 6 of the 9 players in the batting order, 6 of the 10 players who came up to the plate in the game had a hit. 8 of the 10 players that came up in the game reached base. Like Mackenzie Manhart was hitless in the game, but she walked twice. Mary Grace Seward was 0 for 1, but she walked twice. So they got production. Alondra Vincenti, and it wasn't just the big 3, Samsel, Juliet Vogel, and Leah Stevens, the big 3 seniors, the stars. It was players like Alondra Vincenti who had 2 hits in the game. Ava Hennig coming up with a big hit. Mary Grace Seward not only calling a great game behind the plate, throwing out some runners on the base paths, and working both her walks. She worked deep in the counts. I think one of the walks was actually a 9 or 10 pitch walk. So what we saw is, even though they only scored one run, the pieces are there. The lineup was complete. It's circular, which you want to try and have that, especially this time of year. And there's a lot of times when you can ride a pitcher pretty far in the playoffs in softball. And obviously, if you've got to do it, in fact, Middleburg when they won the state championship a couple years back, I believe it was 22 or 21 when they won the state championship. That was basically what they did. They had a great pitcher in Mallory Forrester, future Flagler Saint, now at the University of North Georgia, who's competing for a national championship in Division II. But they rode Mallory Foster to the state championship. They won the game. I think she struck out 16 in the state championship game, but they won 1-0. So that you can do that. But Matanzas is not going to be a team that I think, with the way their lineup has been, they've all started to hit better. Even Cam Williams had a hit. She's hitting 400 over her last 6 games. So they've got players. It's not just the big three. It's top to bottom. They're getting contributions from their lineup, and I think that's going to serve them well going forward also.
Yeah, I think so, and that's going to be a huge game coming up against Middleburg, round 2 of that FHSAA playoffs, and we're going to be there on Tuesday. I don't think we have a time yet on that game. I'm assuming it's going to be 7 o'clock first pitch.
Let me check. I think it is going to be 7 o'clock. Let me see what it says here.
Yeah, as of last night, we didn't know yet, but
that is showing on the FHSAA website as 7 p.m. So we'll go at 7 p.m. If anything changes, tune in to Monday Sports. I'll confirm that because the schools can request a different time, and then the FHSAA has to approve that. I have not been told that that's the case, so I will keep you posted should that change on the morning sports. But as of now, let's plan for 7 o'clock on Tuesday on the Flagler Radio YouTube channel. Middleburg's going to come in. They're 19-8 on the season. They are the 3 seed. They are a team that, unlike Matanzas in that previous game where you see that they have Leah Stevens and they're going to count on her and she's their safety net. The pitching staff for Middleburg is not quite that good. They're not bad. I mean, they've got an ERA of about 2, but they've also given up they average about an unearned run a game, so they have made some mistakes in the field. But I think the thing that scares me about Middleburg, and this is where it's going to be very interesting on Tuesday, Middleburg is hitting 300 as a team, which is good, but that's not the thing that stands out for me. They've hit 16 home runs as a team, and at the high school level, 16 home runs, even in a 27 games in for them, they've played a lot of games. 16 home runs, a lot. They've got 4 players, I believe, with at least 2 home runs. So it'll be interesting to see. They're going to have to get help from the lineup because I know Leah Stevens is great, but this isn't the Middleburg team that's going to have to do like Ponte Vedra had to do in the first game and generate a run, take 3 hits to get a run in. They're a team that can score at one swing of the bat, and so it may only take one mistake from Leah Stevens. Now, she hasn't made any this year, or seemingly hasn't made any. She's only walked 9 batters in 100 innings, so we know that she's not going to make many mistakes, but that's all it could take, one swing of the bat. So they're going to have to get production, but it should be an exciting game. I'm not sure if you can top Thursday, but I sure hope we do.
Oh, I sure hope we do as well, and we will be there Tuesday at 7 o'clock, first pitch time, 7 p.m. on the Flagler Radio YouTube channel. If you missed the game against Ponte Vedra, round 1, it is there for your viewing pleasure. If you have not already, please subscribe to the Flagler Radio YouTube channel. Anything else going on here locally, Mike?
Well, we've got the track and field championships for Class 4A beginning in just a little bit. FPC will have many athletes. In fact, the FPC will begin at 4 o'clock today. They'll have over a dozen athletes, boys and girls, competing in both track events and field events. Just to give you a quick rundown, Karina Marcellus is going to be competing in the 100-meter hurdles as well as the long jump, and she has set school records this year. Colby Cronk will be defending his shot put championship in regionals. He had the longest shot put throw of any athlete in the state this year in all classes and all competitions. And last year at state, he had the longest throw ever by a junior and the 10th longest throw in the history of Florida. So Colby's got a lot going there. I think Maya Tyson, who is set records in the discus and shot put at FPC, she has a good chance to win a championship in those events. The 4x800 relay team will be competing, as well as Mike London and Jack Gilveri in the javelin. Tanner Colley will be competing in the pole vault. So if you haven't been, honestly, if you haven't been, I know it's a little late now with our new 11:30 time, but if you have a chance to head up to UNF in Jacksonville this afternoon, it is a great day to be out there. And I've got some things that I've got to attend to, so I'm hoping to get out there. But that's the other big thing we have going on this weekend is the track and field state championships. We also have spring football going on. You heard from Matt Forrest on the morning sports, and you'll hear an interview with him on our show next week. We have some other news in the county. First Baptist Christian Academy over here in Palm Coast has decided to start a football team with an old familiar face in Daniel Fish. We'll talk more about that as the spring goes on. But today I wanted to talk about FPC football. Coach Patrick Turner taking over for the aforementioned Daniel Fish, and he's gotten into his first spring practice with his new team, and I was able to catch up with him earlier this week. I'm joined by FPC head coach Patrick Turner. Coach Turner, thank you for taking the time to join us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
We're in the week 2 of spring practice. What was the first week like?
Oh, man, it's been great. Every day we've gotten a little bit better. The kids have just been absolutely awesome. I think they're catching on to, the new stuff, the new language, everything that we're doing. They seem to be really interested and having fun. So it's been a good first week and a half.
I was on campus a few weeks back. There was a lot of enthusiasm about spring practice. And how do you carry that enthusiasm all the way through?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's been great. The kids have been, the energy has been high every single day. And obviously, how we do practice, I think, helps with that. Yesterday was our first day of going, live, full gear, everything like that. And, man, it was awesome. Kids really got after it yesterday. So that was good. And then we'll kind of cater it back, the rest of the week. We didn't get out there much today due to the storm, but tomorrow we'll be back in just uppers and get through practice. And then we've actually been invited to play in a scrimmage on Saturday. So we're trying to get that squared away and see if we can do that. And then next week we've got our green and white game. So, the energy, I think, different things happen that causes the energy to be up and high. So the kids are really excited right now. They're flying around. It's been great.
What is your goal for this spring season? What do you expect to get out of your team for this spring season?
One, just a general understanding of what we're doing offensively and defensively with our base schemes. We're not going to have everything in. It's going to be a very limited package. But what we do have in, I want the kids to know and understand and be able to do effectively and efficiently. So that's the goal for the spring.
And I know not just on the field. There's a lot going on with the FPC football program off the field. Would you like to elaborate on some of the things that are going on outside, off the field with the program?
Oh, man, we've got so much going on right now. The biggest thing right now is we have our fundraiser. We kicked off our fundraiser trying to raise funds so the kids can have all kinds of things, whether it be, swag or gear or pay for our team camp. We're going to take them to a team camp over the summer. We had to replace some practice jerseys. Just different things to get them to where I want the program to be and what I think they should look like. And so we've already spent some money, so you got to recoup that money. So we've got a fundraiser going on right now called Teamworks, and it's a social media platform fundraiser where the kids are either texting or putting on their social media asking for donations, and that's been a hit. Our goal was to raise $25,000. We've got a week left, and I think we're sitting right at $17,000. So if you know any players out there, you might want to hit them up and just say, hey, tell me about this fundraiser. How can I help? How can I donate? And you can do as little as $25, $50, but all of that goes a long way. So, and part of that is me getting on here and asking, and I appreciate you for giving us the platform. But every little bit does help the program, and so that's big. A couple other things we've got going on. We do have our annual corporate sponsorships going on. So if businesses want to put a banner on the stadium, they can do that. And we got basically 3 different levels. Our top level being our top dog, where we're going to put some ads or banners on the field, some pop-ups on the field. There's little triangles that get planted in the ground, and you can advertise on them. We got a couple of those that come out. They also come with some shout-outs during the game, exclusive timeouts brought to you by whatever company that sponsors us. We got a Bulldog corporate sponsor that, has a couple of banner options on the fence. And this year we're actually adding something new on the outside wall of our field house that faces Bulldog Drive. We're actually going to put some wall clings out there for some businesses also. So give them ultimate exposure as anybody who drives through and parent pickup or comes by. When they pass by every single day, they're going to see that ad on the side of the building. So just trying to give back to them and they help us out monetarily. So we've got that program going on. But I think our biggest thing and our most exciting thing we're getting ready for is our camps this summer. We have 3 different camps that we'll be doing. We have a youth football camp that will be the first week of June, June 2nd through 5th. So that's, 3rd grade through 8th grade. So anybody looking to get their kids some summer camp experience and looking for something to do, or maybe even just drop the kids off for a couple hours a day, we'll be going from 7:30 in the morning to 11. So that'll give something for the kids to get actively acclimated to football, and we'll be teaching the drills and skills and fundamentals that we use at the varsity level. The next camp that we have is actually a flag football league. So we run that in June every Tuesday and Thursday evening. So we're hoping we get, a lot of exposure and signups with that. It'll be running just like you would any flag football league. And we've got a lot of them here in Palm Coast, and we've got a lot of great models around us, like the Mad Dogs and things like that. We even have a couple of those guys helping us out to run this program so that we can get those people on FPC campus and run that flag league. The last camp we have is a quarterback camp. That will be the second week in July. So when we get back from the 4th of July, it'll be in the evenings. And this is also a co-ed camp. All of the camps are co-ed. So anybody who wants to come and learn the fundamentals of football, I think it's great. So it's not just for males or boys. It's for anybody interested in football or flag football or, any kind of youth football, really. And so we're excited to sell those camps, and all that teaching will be by either our players or our coaches. And we're anxious to show them how the Bulldogs do it. So just the exposure and talking about that on the radio and getting that out there, that's a big help to us. I want to say thank you for that. And that's what we got going on. So it's a lot. It's jam-packed, but we're excited about it, man.
And I know those youth camps, my son attended the Menendez football camp one year, and he just had such a blast. It's a great way to get the kids interested in football. I know as soon as they get to your building, you're going to be trying to get those kids, as many of those kids into the football program as possible. How much value is there in that, having those camps with the 3rd to 8th graders to get them to know you before that time?
Oh, it's excellent. Hopefully, I'm going to be here for a long time, and I want to grow the programs. I want to have partnerships with all of the football associations in Palm Coast, Pop Warner, the flag leagues, and they've been great. They've been welcoming to us, and I want to do the same thing. I want to host some clinics for those coaches, with the Bulldogs and Bunnell, the Titans, Flagler Beach, the Wildcats, whoever it might be, and get those coaches on our campus to learn how we do it and the way we do it. And I'd love, for those guys to be a feeder for us. Even flag, there's a lot of kids. There's a ton of kids in Palm Coast that play flag football, and they might be interested in real football if they were exposed to it. So this is just a way of creating that, that partnership and that exposure to those kids to where I want them to have fun. I want them to learn the fundamentals. And I also want them to say, hey, you know what, I'll give that a shot. I'll give that a try. And when they do, who knows, they might be a superstar, both on the football field or flag league or whatever they do. And that's what it's all about, just giving kids an opportunity and all-American high school experience.
I wanted to ask you got here to FPC a couple months ago. Have you had a chance to really round out your staff and get that side of things taken care of?
Yeah, my staff is lights out, man. These guys are they're great people, first off, in the community, very well established, and they're great coaches on top of that. And I've been able to hit some home runs. A lot of guys have come back, and they're great coaches, and I've been able to add to it. I'm really liking these guys right now. They're excellent to work with, very knowledgeable, and they get after it from the time we're on the field to the time we walk off, and then afterwards. They care, they invest in the lives of the players, and I couldn't be more impressed with what they're doing right now. So I'm super excited about the staff that we have right now.
It'll be your first time getting the team on the field in a game setting. What are you looking to see in that spring game against Bishop Moore in a couple weeks?
Oh, man, I'm excited just to see what we got, what we're going into the summer with. I've got some excellent players, returning talent, a couple guys that are from other places, that either came back to FPC or moved to the area, whatever it might be. So as I say before every football game, it's less about them and it's more about us, and that's really what it is. I'm focused on us. I want to see if we can accomplish what I told you I wanted to, which was have a general understanding, a concrete understanding of what we're trying to do offensively and defensively. And I just want to see kids have fun and get after it. I want our defense to line up correctly. I want to fly around. I want to hit people on a tackle. I want them to have fun. Offensively, I want to move the football. I want to score touchdowns. And like I said, hopefully that happens. If not, and who knows what's going to happen. Bishop Moore's a really good team, and I know that. They're going to be well prepared, well coached. So I just hope for a good game that night, to be honest.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you taking the time, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Absolutely, Mike. You take care.
All right, there you go. Coach Turner, new FPC head football coach, and his second official appearance on the Rich and Mike Sports Show, so we really appreciate that. And one of the things I found most interesting there, Mike, was the outreach. You know, it's about more. It's about getting more kids involved. It's about flag football. It's about spreading the love of the game and maybe introducing it to people who aren't thinking about it so much. So I think the outreach is great. And another part of the interview that I think you learn here is that, man, a lot goes into a football season. This doesn't just start, in late August, September. This is almost a year-long process to try to get to the season and have success.
I went to a parents' meeting, and, fundraising is a big part of the effort that Patrick Turner is trying to reestablish at FPC. And I went to a parents' meeting, and I won't give you dollars, but I will tell you the number of dollars it takes to run a high school football program shocked me. And one thing about Patrick Turner I know from his previous stops in Palaca and at Menendez, mostly at Menendez is where my experience was with him, is that he's going to engage the community. He's going to get out. Like when he was at Menendez, he was reaching out to kids in Elkton, in Hastings, in Flagler Estates, in St. Augustine South, in the Shores, Crescent Beach. He was reaching out to every area of his school zone to try and not only get kids that are already in the building, but kind of establish that groundwork. We talked many times. I was the voice of the Gamble Rogers Stingrays middle school program. We won 3 championships in 6 years, and that was part of Patrick Turner was part of that, and had some of his assistant coaches were coaching that middle school team and coaching at Menendez to try and have a presence and kind of establish a feeder program. And, we don't have middle school football so much in Flagler County, but I know First Baptist did have a middle school team last year. We'll find out if that continues. But Patrick Turner is going out to all the youth football teams, and he is trying to establish that feeder system where I can tell you, go way back in the day with Joey Wiles at St. Augustine High, before middle school football was a thing in St. Johns County, whether it was the West Augustine Yellow Jackets or the St. Augustine Mighty Mites or the Police Athletic League Spartans, whoever it was, they were running St. Augustine type drills and running St. Augustine concepts, so that by the time they got to 9th grade, they kind of knew pretty much what was expected of them and what they were expected to do. And I think that's what Patrick Turner is really working hard to establish here, as well as the fundraising aspect of it, and trying to, because he's new to the community, so he doesn't know the community like some coaches would have. So he's having to get his name out there, and I think that's part of the effort as well.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the football season already, and it's only May. All right, we'll keep it right here, Mike. Got about 2 minutes. The New York Knicks, the Boston Celtics, Game 3 this afternoon at 3:30. The Garden is going to be rocking, and I know we're both just as shocked as anybody else that the Knicks hold a 2-0 lead in this series.
Game 1 was less shocking. It was shocking, but it was less shocking. The Knicks missed a lot of free throws. They rebounded poorly, and that was less shocking because Boston gave them a lot of opportunity. Game 2 seemed out of reach. And I'll say, I know we've got a lot of time, so I'll say 2 things. One, you can shoot 25% from the three-point line in the NBA and still win games. Not when you're chucking up 50. And 2, hacking Mitchell Robinson 3 times on the floor with fouls to give was about the dumbest thing I've ever seen a coach do.
Yeah, that was pretty rough to see, and that's where Thibodeau outcoached him, because you saw OG coming to the scorer's table to replace Robinson, and Thibodeau said, no, go sit down. Let him keep fouling.
I saw Rick Brunson kind of tap him on the shoulder. I think they realized, let them, if they're going to put the Knicks in the bonus, let's let them do that.
Yep. We're just about out of time here. The one thing I'll say, I could talk about this game coming up this afternoon for hours, but I'll just say this. Hey, Boston, keep chucking away, please. Keep chucking away. Coming up on Tuesday, of course, we mentioned it, round 2 of the playoffs. The Matanzas Pirates and the Middleburg Broncos. Second round of the playoffs, 7 p.m. Tuesday night, only on the Flagler Radio YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the Flagler Radio YouTube channel, and don't miss the big playoff game, round 2, for the Matanzas Pirates, Tuesday night. That's another episode of the Rich and Mike Sports Show. Have a great weekend, Flagler County.